Hello and welcome to the Culture Swally, a podcast dedicated to Scottish news and pop culture. My name is Nicky and I'm joined as always by the man who loves wearing a mask and dancing to Come Baby Come by K7. It's Greg. How are you today, buddy?
Very well indeed. Just returned from a trip to God's country back in Glasgow for a week with a little diversion up to Aberdeenshire to see my mother and my stepfather. So just got back on sort of Thursday night, Friday morning and readjusting. Although I wasn't the only famous person to have doing a little tour of Scotland last week. I don't know if you saw, I don't know if it was in the news, but I saw on Facebook, and I don't know how because I don't follow this celebrity, but I do follow pages like Pictures of Scotland and sort of like scenic Pictures of Scotland accounts. So maybe that's why it came up. But the actress that launched A Million Wanks in the late 90s, Shannon Elizabeth, was doing a tour of Scotland. She was up in Glencoe. I think she went to Skye and had a lovely, lovely time.
I did see this. The reason she was back, she was at one of the Comic Cons.
Right, okay.
I think, was it Edinburgh Comic Con was on or something? I think she might have been at that.
The one our mutual friend was at?
Yes.
Right, at the Highland Centre.
I did read an article about it, and I think she was over for Comic-Con or something, and then because nothing screams Comic-Con like Nadia from American Pie, of course. So,
but she's also in Jane Silent Bob Strikes Back, so she's on the sort of cultural periphery for that type of thing, I guess, isn't she?
You know what? You're right. I had forgotten that she's in that. You're completely right. I think whenever I think about that film, it's just Eliza Dushku that I'm thinking of. But you're right. She's in that, of course. So she was, of course. Now, I think what all our listeners want to know, Greg, is did you get a roll and chips from the Blue Lagoon? I
certainly did. I was out on Saturday afternoon. The Lab, which it's a favourite Glasgow pub of yours and mine. The last we'd heard, it had closed down, but it's been bought over. It's had a bit of a facelift. They've put in like a new floor. It's funny, like they've put in a new floor. They've put in some new furniture and stuff. It looks like they've varnished the bar and just given it like a little lift. It looks quite nice and fresh, but. If the toilets are down in the basement, we haven't spent any money in the toilets. In fact, I went down to go for a pee, and the door, it hasn't just been like removed from the cubicle. It's completely gone. It's not even there. It's like, I don't know. I'm sure it's just awaiting repairs, or maybe they're trying to curtail illicit activity in the toilet, in the cubicle. Perhaps they try and deter people from taking the old marching powder in there. Perhaps something like that. I don't know, but I mean, if you want to go for a jobby, you're absolutely fucked.
I was going to say, so the throne is still there. Does it have the side walls, or is it just a throne sitting in the middle of?
No, the cubicle is still there, but the door is completely gone. And the best thing is there's like a roll of toilet paper there just in case anybody's like likely to, any kind of voyeur is just determined to.
I mean, if you've got to go, you've got to go. I mean, maybe somebody comes down and gets a chair and starts peeling an orange whilst watching. I don't know.
When I was in there, I was washing my hands, and like a big group of guys.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah. A big group of guys had come into the bar just before I went down, and this guy, older guy, starts talking to me, and it turns out that he is on his son's stag do, and they're down in Glasgow for the stag do, right? And so he was asking me where to go, where a good place to go for a few pints, and it's kind of good energy, blah blah blah. And
Diamond Dolls.
He said he wasn't looking for that type of establishment. They were looking for kind of nightclub or something like that. He said, but the last train leaves at 11, so they must have been getting the train, right? So the reason I'm telling you this is because he was, and I should have mentioned this this before when we were talking before we started recording, but they were all from Fraserburgh. Although he told me he doesn't live in Fraserburgh anymore, he lives in Banff. Now, I used to live in that neck of the woods and consider myself fairly fluent in the
Tuchter.
In the kind of bucking Tuchter. Honestly, I could hardly, on his accent was like, it was like farmer thick. You know what I mean? It was like farmer, the only other people we ever speak to apart from his wife and kids are other farmers, like thick accent. It took a long time to give him any kind of orientation. I didn't really know where to send him, but I knew that there was a free music festival on down at the Gallagate at St. Luke's. So I said, well, there's live music and stuff down there. It's like a little mini free festival amongst the bars in that new gentrified part of Glasgow. You could do worse than go down there. But yeah, like honestly, the thickest accent. But they must have been getting the train back up to Aberdeen, is all I can surmise, if they were getting the last train at 11 o'clock.
Oh my God, that's a hell of a long way to go for
like a day out in the piss, you know what I mean?
Yeah, surely not. But, well, you never know. These strange...
Well, what would be their options? They could go up to Inverness. I've never ever had a night out in Inverness. I've only ever been there once. Never spent any time in Inverness, so I can't speak to how good a night out it is. Aberdeen, maybe it's not such a good night out, or maybe they're just fed up. Maybe that's where they always go. Inverurie, maybe. I don't know what Inverurie's right for a night out. Probably not very good, although I hear it's got a brewdog. Or Dundee, maybe.
Yeah, Dundee's okay, I think. But yeah, I guess coming down to Glasgow. Never had a night out
in Dundee either.
Who knows? But well, a successful trip to Scotland then.
Yeah, it was good. So yeah, I did get my rolling chips because I just stayed in town. I stayed in a hotel in the city centre on a Saturday night because I was getting an early train to Aberdeen on Sunday morning myself. So I went and got the only thing was, like, I should have taken a bite out of it before I left the chippy, just to make sure that it was the way I wanted it. But I waited until I got back to the hotel room, and there wasn't really enough vinegar on there.
Oh.
You were a wee bit tight with the vinegar. But, and the roll wasn't buttered, which is a bit of a deal breaker when it comes to rolling chips.
So, not the best, rolling chips there, but it's still better than
no nothing. Rolling chips. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
There we go. Well, hopefully next time it'll be even better then. We'll see. Right, well, shall we have a look at what was happening in Scotland whilst you were there, Greg?
Cue the jingle.
Hello, this is the Outer Hebrides Broadcasting Corporation. And here is what's been going on in the news.
Okay, right then, my man. What have you seen in the news over the last couple of weeks that you'd like to share with me and our lovely listeners?
Well, this is going to be a Swally first when it comes to the news. Because this article comes from The Guardian.
Oh!
Yeah. Bit of lefty middle-class feature news here. So the headline reads... There were stoats in kitchen cupboards. AI deployed to help save Orkney's birds. Stoats have been an existential threat to Orkney's rare birds, but technology is helping to eradicate them. At first, the stoat looks like a faint smudge in the distance, but as it jumps closer, its sleek body is identified by a heat-detecting camera. With it, an alert goes out to Orkney's stoat hunters. Now, they're actually hunting stoats, not child molesters. Aided by an artificial intelligence program trained to detect a stoat's sinuous shape and movement, trapping teams are dispatched with the explicit aim of finding and killing it. It's the most sophisticated technology deployed in one of the world's largest mammal eradication projects, which has the aim of detecting the few stoats left on Orkney. Conservationists on the islands, which sit in the far north of Scotland, have already used an array of 9,000 lethal traps and 8 specially trained tracking and detection dogs to dispatch nearly 8,000 stoats over the past 6 years. At least 30 of those digital cameras will soon be staked out across the moors and coasts of Orkney's mainland, building a network that connects hits from the cameras to computers and mobile apps used by the trapping teams. The stoat is an existential threat. I always thought existential meant was more spiritual, you know what I mean? No.
No, because like if you have like an existential crisis, for example.
Yeah, but I thought it was like a sort of spiritual crisis. And you stop believing in God or something like that.
Maybe you're right, actually. Yeah, true.
So it says the stoat is an existential threat to native ground nesting birds for which Orkney is famous. It is home to 11% of all the UK's breeding seabirds and about 25% of its hen harriers, as well as its most treasured native rodent, the Orkney vole. The RSPBS, which is the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds Scotland, which runs the Orkney Native Wildlife Project, believes stoats arrived from the Scottish mainland in about 2011. Since then, the population has exploded, colonising Orkney's mainland and the nearby islands of Burray and South Ronaldsay and the peninsula of Deerness. Stoats can swim several kilometres. Did you know that?
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah,
impressive.
I know. Sarah Sankey, the area operations manager for RSPB Scotland, says the stoats' greatest advantage is they have no predators in Orkney. They've nothing to control them, with no foxes and very few buzzards. We've seen this all over the world. The stoat population would have kept going until it had removed everything, she says, holding a laminated map of Orkney with thousands of red dots marking the trap network. We saw it before we started eradicating them. There were stoats running between people's legs, stoats in people's kitchen cupboards. There were stoats in people's lofts. In well under a decade, they had spread across 58,000 hectares, which is about 140,000 acres. A feasibility study said that if they spread across all Orkney's islands, it would be financially and logistically impossible to control them. So the project, which will last 10 years at least, has been given a £16 million budget and 46 staff. Stoats penetrate the burrows of voles, search out eggs and chicks in thousands of curlew, lapwing and hen harrier nests, and also hunt along Orkney's extensive shoreline for seafood, feeding off starfish and urchins. Here we've got a perfect disaster where we've loads and loads of food year round, Sankey says. Nothing to control the stoats, and lots of native wildlife to lose, and a tourism economy that kind of depends on it. Why did we start all this? Orkney is less than 1% of the UK's land area, but we've around a quarter of all Arctic terns and hen harriers, about a third of Arctic skuas, and we're the only place with Orkney voles. So there was a lot to lose, basically. So they're showing the back of a van with a poster in the back door saying, "Seen a stoat?" And then please report it as soon as possible at the orkneynativewildlife.org.uk. So yeah, so there's a little lesson about stoats, but I had no idea that they could swim, and I'm surprised that the government has given up £16 million for them to deal with said stoat threat.
I had absolutely no idea that this was a thing. A stoat. How bizarre. But yeah, no idea they were such strong swimmers. But stoats.
Stoats. What? Yeah, I think I always get stoats mixed up with not weasels. What are the ones that the hunters sometimes have in the wee bags? Ferrets. Yeah, sometimes I get stoats. Are they similar? I
think so. Yeah.
Group of animals.
Like stoats, ferrets, weasels, meerkats. They're all kind of similar. Like squirrels. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a picture of a very handsome Springer Spaniel in the article as well.
Is he head of the stoat division? Is he?
He's got a sort of look that says he's in charge about him. To be fair, you know what I mean. Either that, or he's got a real look of intensity. He's sort of looking just off camera, perhaps at a stoat. Who knows?
So should we be worried in terms of that like a lot of people wouldn't get into the ocean once they saw Jaws? Should people be careful for stoats if they're like wild swimming around about Orkney or something?
I mean, I think a threatened stoat would probably give you a nasty bite, and who knows what germs would be in its mouth from all the sea urchins and hen harriers and stuff that it's been eating. So I'd maybe keep one's distance, and then obviously report it to the RSPB's death squad that they've got working in the Orkney Islands.
Yeah, I wouldn't fancy getting a bite from a stoat or getting into an altercation with a stoat. I think I'll just stay well away from any stoatage.
Any stoat the ball. Anyway. that's my first story this week from The Guardian. Definitely a Sunday morning with a cup of tea kind of story. What's your first story on this episode?
I'm going to lower the tone with my first story, Greg, but this is something that I would say is a very Swally-centric story. We're leaving The Guardian behind, but we are going to the Scottish Sun this week. And the headline is Pleasure Island. A picturesque island has been left buzzing after dozens of sex toys washed up on the beach. The dildos appeared on the sands at Millport during Storm Amy last week. Two dog walkers clocked the saucy contraptions on Newton Beach and scooped up armfuls of them before any kids found the bizarre cache. Mystery surrounds the sex on the beach find on the small island just off the coasts, but it's believed they may have fallen from a passing ship in the Firth of Clyde. Barmaid Leslie McDowell, 59, who works at the Newton Bar, said, "It was a load of sex toys that washed up. The village has been buzzing ever since. Maybe it was an early birthday present for me. Oh, Leslie, I bet you are a fucking riot at the bar." But seriously, luckily it happened when it was quiet and kids didn't find them. We don't know where they got dumped, but there's none in the bar. Leslie protests a bit too much here, I think. The bizarre discovery occurred on Friday while Scotland was getting battered by Storm Amy. While most of the sex toys were found that day, more were still being discovered on Saturday and Sunday.
It's like dildo galore, isn't
it? Leslie said, apparently a guy was coming up from the beach with an armful of dildos. It's not the run-of-the-mill kind of day in Millport. Another local dog walker, Izzy Wright, 67, joked, "This isn't the kind of thing that usually happens here. Usually we keep that kind of stuff private. Not that I know much about these things, but it was dildos that were washed up. I'm not sure what happened to them, although I did hear about 100 people descended onto the beach with bin bags." Retired prison officer Kathy Watson was visiting for the day from Ayr, but had heard all about the sex toys. The 60-year-old said, "It's the quiet season. It'll take more than sex toys to get this place rocking. It was a funny thing to turn up on the beach. I heard there was about 50 of them. A lot of folk were joking, saying they would come down, but they saw the pictures and thought they didn't look too great." Another local said it reminded him of the film Whiskey Galore, although this time it was dildos rather than spirits that crashed onto a remote island. He said, maybe they should make a film here and call it Dildos Galore. So, there we go. Dildos on the beach in Millport, Greg. So, just a mystery bag of dildos washed up on the island. And they think it's come off a boat. I've no idea. There is a photo, and there's a load of dildos just chilling on the beach. They're in plastic bags by the looks of things. So I don't know if they were, the boxes maybe had degraded or something and, washed away, and just these load of dildos have just washed up on the beach. Very bizarre.
No, do you think perhaps Millport has got a kind of Wicker Man style swinging society, and perhaps it was a delivery that was bound for the island, and the locals are all just like, "Oh, this is weird."
What I will say about this article, Greg, is they've interviewed 3 women, and they are aged 60, 67 and 59. Right. So that tells you all you need to know about where those sex toys have washed up in Millport, I would say.
Yeah.
But it's a very strange circumstance. But so Storm Amy brought Christmas early to Millport. Well, the ladies of Millport. And some men, obviously, as well.
Yeah, so do you think the locals just got to keep them all then?
I don't know. I mean, would you keep a dildo you find on the beach?
I suppose not. I mean... Yeah, probably not. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, probably not. Probably not.
No, I don't think it's the type of thing that you would use. I mean, anything that was ingested or to be, you're not gonna use that sandy dildo.
No, it's gonna have to give it a right good rinse under the tap first.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to have to be. But yeah, these things that happen in Millport. But yeah, it's not a run-of-the-mill kind of day, said Leslie. Apparently a guy was coming up from the beach with an armful of dildos. I wonder what he did with them. I wonder if he sold them or, straight on eBay with his dildos, or if he's using them for anything. But I do like the fact that I think 3 times this article, it does mention that Millport has been left buzzing after the sex toys. So I'm like, okay, it's funny to use it once, but 3 times is a bit.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm very fond of Millport. I don't know if you've ever been there, but like, it used to be before people went on holidays abroad. In sort of fair fortnight in Glasgow Fair Fortnight, which is like Glasgow's version of Trades Fortnight that they have in Aberdeen. People would go their holidays down to like Millport and Mothsey. Like my dad used to go every year for 2 weeks from he was a wee boy until he was a teenager. So it's a nice place to go, Millport. It's kind of trapped in time in a really good way, if you know what I mean. In a really nice way. The only problem with Millport is you have to get the ferry from Largs, which is like a fucking unflushed toilet. But you don't have to be in Largs too long, you know what I mean? Just long enough to park to drive your car onto the ferry, and the short 15-20 minute crossing to the Isle of Cumbria and down the road to Millport.
Well, if you need any sex toys, Millport is the place to go, apparently.
Well, yeah, it's going to be a whole dildo black market now in Millport, right?
Yeah, it's a funny thing. I think I've become, I need to watch my wording here. I think I've become desensitized to dildos because I had some visitors here on Friday evening. A couple of friends from the UK, Aberdeen, like our mutual friend and other friend, and they had a female companion with them, and we're going to a bar, walking through the red light districts, and of course there's a lot of sex shops there. And there was a window of a sex shop, and it had all these different dildos in the window, and I just walked past not thinking, and they're all stopping, chuckling, and then they just mentioned the dildos for the rest of the evening, and I was like, it's just a shop. It's just a shop. And I guess I've just become desensitized to it, I presume. Yeah, but, it's still a chuckle. And I guess you're not used to seeing that in the UK, I suppose. And especially you're not used to seeing that in the Middle East.
No, definitely not. I mean, yeah, I mean, you wouldn't just have things like that in the shop window in the UK. I wouldn't even know. Like Ann Summers' shop, perhaps? Is that where you'd have to go? I have no idea.
Guess so. I think, yeah.
I'd have to ask our mutual friend. He's got a good dildo story. Well, it wasn't a good story for him, but it was a good story for the rest of us when we get to remind him about it.
I think he enjoyed it at the time. That's the thing.
But yeah, no, I mean, it is a bit jarring when you walk past a shop window in the continent, and you're presented with hardcore pornography and, PVC outfits and a variety of sex aids.
I guess, yeah, I have become desensitized to it then. Definitely. It's just an average shop window to me now, but never mind.
I mean, when you started saying that, I was going to say, should we have discussed this before we started recording?
Anyway, never mind. Okay, so that is Millport, the place to go if you want your dildos. Okay, Greg, what else have you seen this week?
Well, it's been a while since we've done a wee story like this, but this comes from Glasgow Live, and they are listing, I'm not going to go through every one of them, but they're listing 51 Glasgow words and phrases that have all but vanished. So I thought I'd run through them and see. There's some that I remember from being a wee boy, and see if there's any that perhaps made it up to Aberdeen that you're familiar with, right? So
yeah, okay.
The first one is Anniker's Midden, as in, Nicky, your bedroom's like Anniker's Midden. Not that your bedroom would ever have been like that, I'm sure.
Never heard that.
It's a phrase used to describe a mess, be it in someone's house, room, or person themselves occasionally. Apparently it stems from a former pork butcher's firm that had branches all over Glasgow. So obviously out of business now. One which I do like is heed the baw. Oh, he's heed the baw, used with affection to describe somebody who may be perhaps neurologically divergent or a bit slow in the uptake. A breed snapper is a slang term used for a child that constantly needs fed. The catty, which short for catalogue. Just ordered a new pair of Air Force Ones out the catty and that. No,
see, we would call that the clubby book. Have you familiar with that?
Well, I am from living in the northeast of Scotland. The clubby book.
Okay.
Didn't realise. Yeah. I mean, I didn't realise it meant the catalogue though, because the catalogue would be like Freeman's or something, right?
Yeah, well, that was my mum and sister used to order from Freeman's, and it was we called it the clubby book.
Right. Okay. Dan Dares. Dan Dares. Mine back in the 70s, everybody, your dad used to have a cracking pair of Dan Dares. It's just a term for flared trousers.
Oh, wow. I thought you were going to say Nike Airs.
No, back in the 70s.
Well, I just wonder.
Yeah, made a comeback in the 90s. Frankie Vaughan's. See the state of him when he came in for his work. His Frankie Vaughan's were bogging. It's short for Hans, which is hands.
Okay.
Gowpin, which means throbbing with pain. Oh, my balls were gowping.
Wow. I haven't heard that either.
Hoche, which means jammy, as in, you hoche bastard, if you found like a fiver on the ground or something.
No, I never heard that either. Obviously, I'm familiar with the term hoaching.
Yeah.
I presumed it meant the same, but no, obviously not.
Yeah. A jasket, which obviously you'll know. Your denim jasket in your glory days.
I'm familiar with jasket, yes.
Yeah. Lipton's orphan, which is a phrase describing somebody who looks poor, comes from an old poster from Lipton's the grocer. And that is the same Lipton that makes the tea. Started in Glasgow, Lipton's, and now is an international tea supplier. A Lucy. So a Lucy is a slang term for a cigarette sold individually, perhaps in a poke off the ice cream van. A Lucy. A lumber. I mean, that's never gone away. Yeah.
No.
To chat someone up, brackets, successfully, or establish a non-platonic relationship with them. Nae tother, which is no trouble. A pelmet, which is used to describe a sticky out bum. A pinger, which is a slang term for a microwave. A pokey. A pinger.
I would have used that for an erection, not a...
I wouldn't get you a bit. If somebody told you to go and get your dinner at the pinger, you'd be a bit confused then.
Very confused.
A pokey hat, which is a local term for an ice cream cone. The Ridgery Hilton, which is slang name for His Majesty's Prison Barlinnie. It's in the suburb of Ridgery. A Salvador Dali, which is short for a Swally, which means, obviously long-term listeners to this will know it means alcoholic drink. A Shoodery, which is a one step up from a co-carry. A Wanser, which is a term used to describe a pound, usually a pound note. Wanser.
And never heard that.
And finally, a wee goldie, which is slang for a little nip of whiskey.
Familiar with that, Greg. Wow, there's a lot there I've never heard before. That's really interesting. Yeah, quite a few I'd never come across or heard, especially in that context. So yeah, wow.
I like Scottish rhyming slang because you get it. Irvin Welsh is very good at dropping it into the conversations his characters have. You know what I mean? When Spud talks about kicking somebody in the Dennis Laws. It's just when Irvin Welsh does it, it's usually somebody's name that's being used as isn't it?
Yeah.
As the slang. That's why the Frankie Vaughan's made me laugh and made me think of Irvin Welsh, you know.
Yeah, there's quite a few, I think, in
Men in Love.
Thank you very much. That made me laugh, and I can't remember them off the top of my head now. But yeah, there was a couple in there that were fantastic. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's always a good... Oh yeah, I mean, I've just Googled it, and yeah, the one that always makes me laugh, I guess, with Irvin Welsh is when he did describe someone as a Wall's feast.
Chizzy the Wall's feast.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of that. Big fan of the rhyming slang. You're right. It's very good. But yeah, so what? This is a bunch of sayings that are dying out and we need to bring attention to, do we?
Well, yeah, I mean, Glasgow Live is just celebrating some of the words and phrases that perhaps aren't as common in Glasgow parlance as they once were. Anniker's midden. I remember my mother saying that. I'm a granny years ago.
Never heard that. Never heard that at all.
I never knew. I actually thought they were saying Annika's midden. So I always thought Annika was some sort of untidy woman. It's actually Anniker.
You think Annika Rice had a very untidy downstairs?
Yeah, maybe. Exactly, yeah. Yeah, underneath that jumpsuit.
Anyway, okay. Oh, well, that's lovely. That's a nice little trip down kind of the memory lane. And it's hopefully educated listeners to some lovely new sayings as well that you'll be impressing your pals with.
Exactly. Anyway, that was my second and last story this week. What's your next one?
My next story also comes from the Scottish Sun this week, Craig. I've gone down a bit of a rabbit hole. And the headline reads, Popular Rangers pub forced to close after stink bomb thrown inside. The owner...
So, before you carry on with this story, I saw this when I was in Scotland and it was breaking, and they thought, and when it was breaking, it was unknown substance thrown in to Rangers pub. So I thought it might be somebody had like thrown, like
a bar of soap.
Yeah, a fucking bottle of Radox or something. I thought maybe somebody like had tried to throw some acid at somebody or something like that. You know what I mean? So to here's a stink bomb is fucking hilarious.
So from the Scottish Sun, the owners of Walter's Bar in Rutherglen, did I say that right? Have called in police after a mysterious liquid was hurled into the boozer. No one was injured, but the popular bar, dedicated to Gers manager Walter Smith, was forced to close. The bizarre incident comes weeks after the place was trashed by thugs with hammers.
Fucking hell.
Owner Emma took to social media to reveal what happened on Tuesday afternoon. She said, Somebody decided to throw stink bomb liquid into the bar whilst my kids were present. No one was hurt and no damage was caused, but it was absolutely honking.
Surprised they noticed.
She told how staff are desperately trying to get the bar back to normal and cracked a joke about her punters. Emma said, We're scrubbing and airing it out. It'll smell like a bed of roses. Or to be honest, it smells like some of the customers have been letting off the old fart now and again. Massive thank you to everyone who sent messages and shown support. It means the world to me, my team, and my kids. We're back open today as normal, so pop in for a pint, a laugh, and show your support. Let's get back to doing what Walters does best, without the hammers. Police Scotsman spokesman said, around 4:55pm on Tuesday, October the 7th, 2025, we received a report that liquid was thrown into a public house in Queen Street, Walters. Officers attended and the liquid was found to be non-hazardous. There were no reported injuries, but inquiries are ongoing. Walters opened for the first time in July. Jesus, it's quite an experience. It's only been open for 3 months, with the ribbon cut by ex-Light Blues star Gordon Smith. Wow. He praised the place as a fantastic tribute to Nina Row icon Walter. But the following month, 3 people were injured when thugs targeted the bar, smashed windows, TVs and bottles of booze. Police launched an investigation and Gers fans slated the attackers. So, this is great. It was obviously breaking news when you were there. Mysterious liquid. Yeah, it was a stink bomb that someone had thrown inside a pub. And, I mean, I don't know how bad. Do you remember stink bombs? They were fucking honking back in the day. It was, they were great. They were great. You get them from the joke shop. You get 3 in a box. And, you would just
they came weak sort of glass, or sort of plasticky cylinders. Yeah. You had to, break them, didn't you?
Yeah.
Let the stench out.
Yeah. Yeah, we used to let them off in the Trinity Centre. It was great fun. Yes. It's great fun. Obviously try not to get caught, but because then the problem was you had to throw them with force so they would break. But then I think one of my friends once tried to do it subtly. So put it on the ground and then break it with his shoe and then run off. But then the problem is, then your shoe's stinking.
Yeah.
So you just got this stink bomb smell following you around. But yeah. I particularly liked when she said, it's an attack. My kids were in there. No one was hurt, but it was absolutely honking. Lovely turn of phrase there. Honking pub.
Yeah, it was probably honking before someone threw a stink bomb in, to be honest.
Yeah, probably. I mean, we've obviously been in a pub where it felt like a stink bomb had been let off, but it was just my arse.
Was that in Cameron's?
Yes.
That's right. That was after a really heavy Friday of drinking Tennants, wasn't it? And then drinking Tennants and then going to Brewdog for dinner, which was not great. Drinking some IPA. And then,
Yeah, in the pub. It wasn't the best. But never mind. It was all okay. But yeah, you never been in a pub where someone's been thrown in, have you?
No, I don't think so. No, definitely. I think that's quite a new thing. I would never go to like a club pub anyway. Do you know what I mean? I think saying that, I'm pretty safe territory though, but what was the Aberdeen pub just along from the Aberdeen, near the Blue Lamp, there was like a small Aberdeen pub there. It was just near, when I went to college at the Gallagate there, at Aberdeen College, we used to go along there sometimes for a pint at lunchtime. I can't remember what it was called, but it was an Aberdeen pub, but you sort of own kind of safe territory in an Aberdeen pub in Aberdeen, or like in a fucking Tuesday lunchtime or something like that, you know what I mean? I've been in one or two Rangers pubs. I've even been in one or two Celtic pubs, and just not for me.
No. I can't remember. I know exactly the bar you mean, and I cannot remember what it was called.
Yeah. It was named after a player. It was like an old players pub, I think, wasn't it?
I want to say it was Simpsons or something, or Cooper's, but it was something, it was like an old player, I think, that owned it for a while, but I cannot remember for the life of me now.
So it was quite small. It wasn't like a big room or anything. It was pretty small. Like, it would get pretty busy in there at lunchtime because all the students would walk up there for a pint,
Yeah. I cannot remember. I'm trying to have a look online, but it's one of those things that needs a bit more of a...
Yeah. Tune in for the next episode and we'll...
Yeah, I will find out what it was called, but I cannot remember for the life of me now. But you're always safe in an Aberdeen pub usually, aren't you?
Yeah, pretty much. I remember, I don't know if I've told this story before in the podcast, I might have done, but when the smoking ban came in Scotland in 2006, there was a big scramble to get licenses for beer gardens in Glasgow. And Glasgow, despite the fact it's got a reputation for being full of used to have a reputation for being full of fucking drunks and stuff like that, it's actually got really strict pub rules. You know what I mean? Like, so you're not allowed to stand out. Even now, you're not allowed to stand outside and drink. You can You can sit outside and have a drink, but if there's no seats, you can't be. The pub will get in trouble if they allow you to stand having a pint in the beer garden. So I had to go to a couple of license hearings in Glasgow City Chambers, and I don't know if the format's changed. Like, it might have changed now, but back then, basically, you would have like a lawyer with you to represent you. The licensing board would be sitting at a long table at the front of the room, and everybody just turned up, and it would be like guys with like corner shops turning up for license reviews. And anyway, the guys who owned at the time, and maybe still do own, the fairly famous Rangers pub in the East End of Glasgow, the Loudon Tavern, were there. And they were applying for a beer garden. And the lawyer who was with us, her name was Audrey, I can't remember her second name, but she told me that this was like the third time that they had come back to apply. And they, there's like tenements and all that around there. So the license board's concerns were, well, we don't want the neighbours to be disturbed by people drinking in the pub until 11 o'clock, blah, 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 blah. So these guys turn up, right? Nicky, may I be struck down, right, if I'm lying about this, right? They turn up in Rangers polo shirts, right? Tucked into, like, fairly period jeans. That period being sort of early 1980s kind of dire straits type jeans, right? And trainers. And anyway, essentially, the chairman of the licensing board is going through everything with the lawyer, and he says, look, I'm not going to grant, we can't grant the license today. And before he could finish his sentence, the guys have this massive outburst in the city chambers. So, and had to, the security guards had to remove them. So I don't know if they ever got their beer garden permit. It's not a pub I would ever have gone to, or a part of town that I spent any time really. So
shocking. Oh, well, never mind.
Are you still trying to find the name of that pub?
I am still trying to find the name of the pub, and I found a web page that looks like it might have given me the answer, but I still can't find it. I'm determined. I will find out.
I wanted to say Mitchell's, but I don't think I'm right. I don't know why.
It might be. I don't know, but it's really bugging me now, but I can't remember. I don't think I was ever really in it, but I walked past it a lot.
Yeah.
But it will come to me. Okay, well, there we go. Well, we will be safe from any stink bomb attacks anyway in future pubs. Yeah. But we'll just have to
avoid Rangers pubs.
I do anyway. Yeah. So yeah,
so do I.
Thing. Okay. Right, have you seen anything else this week, buddy?
Nope.
Okay, right. Well, before we get on to what we're going to be talking about today, let's have a little word from our sponsors.
For nearly new and top quality used vehicles, remember the name. Sandy Thane Car Sales.
Remember the name, Thane. Sandy Thane's better than ever. Come in and buy your next car, Thane. We'll put a good deal together. Our prices are better by far, Thane.
Sandy Thane, just 15 minutes from Aberdeen, off the A96 at Kintore. For your next car, remember the name. Sandy Thane.
Okay, so as it's October and tradition dictates that we at least do one spooky, scary bit of content in our October episodes, and it's your choice this week. Why don't you introduce what we're going to be talking about today?
Thank you very much, Greg. Well, yes, as you've just said, this episode will be released the day before Halloween. So it's time for the Swally Spooktacular. And today we're going to be discussing the second episode of the 6th series of anthology series Black Mirror. And the episode is called Loch Henry. When a young couple travel to a sleepy Scottish town to start work on a genteel nature documentary, they find themselves drawn into a juicy local story involving shocking events from the past. Starring Samuel Blinken, Myha'la Herrold, Monica Doolan, Daniel Portman and John Hannah, Loch Henry was released in June 2023, so quite recent. It's available on Netflix if you haven't seen it, and I recommend you do before listening, as we will be spoiling it. So Greg, you watched Loch Henry when it first came out, didn't you? You mentioned on the last episode.
I did. I felt like I hadn't been that long since I watched it, but it had been 2 years because it obviously came out in 2023.
Yeah.
And I've got a bit of a strange relationship with Black Mirror because it's normally Black Mirror, like things like Black Mirror, as I've mentioned a million times on the podcast before, these sort of anthology series with one-off dramas with a bit of a sting in the tail and all that, like The Twilight Zone and The Outer Limits and the Hammer House of Horror, that kind of stuff. And for some reason, Black Mirror has never really drawn me in the same way as those other ones have.
Okay.
I think it's because, like, with the other ones, like, the other ones that I mentioned, like, kind of Tales of the Unexpected and things, the format it's kind of the same, although the stories are different and everything else, but the format's the same, where I think with Black Mirror, they experiment a lot with the format and stuff, and they move it around a lot. I think the episode after this one, or like maybe 2 episodes after this one, it's like a sort of Star Trek type thing, I've not watched it, I've seen a picture from it. But when I go back to it, I always, like 9 out of 10 times I enjoy it. And this one, I was really keen to see when I read about it, because set in Scotland. crucially. But when I read the kind of synopsis of it, I thought, oh, that sounds great. And I really enjoyed it when I watched it when it first came on, and I really enjoyed rewatching it. It's really, really good. But had you?
Good, I'm glad.
Had you watched? You watched it when it came out as well, right?
I had, yeah. I'd watched it pretty much when it came out. It's weird. I'm maybe similar to you. Like Black Mirror, I love Black Mirror, and the last few series, like I've devoured them basically the day they've come out,
Right.
because I like them so much. The most recent series that came out maybe about 6-7 months ago, I think watched the first episode,
Right.
and haven't watched any since, because I think the first episode was so heavy and dark. Right. And it was like, Jesus, I need a bit of a break now.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm getting older, because that's why I like a lot of Black Mirror episodes. And they're meant to be a bit fun, but they are dark and depressing, and have like a big story. I mean, overall, I probably prefer Inside Number 9, because they're 30 minutes.
Yeah.
They're funny, but they're dark and twisted, and there's always a little twist. But I do like the Black Mirror episodes. But yeah, I watched this when it first came out, and I remember at the time really enjoying it, and it stuck with me, this episode. And I don't know if it's because it's set in Scotland, or because it's like I love a true crime documentary. And I wonder if mainly because I'd put it in the back of my mind thinking, we'll cover that on the pod one day, because it's set in Scotland. So it could be it. But I agree with you. It's a cracking little episode. And it's, I almost wish... there's a twist at the end, and obviously I knew the twist was coming the second viewing, but I wish I could remember, because I do remember being shocked at the twist when I first watched it, but I wish I could remember how shocked I was. But anyway, we'll come back on coming to discuss the twist later. But yeah, overall, really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed the episode. I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, I think with this one, so Black Mirror, sort of fairly famously created by Charlie Brooker, who I find Charlie Brooker really, really funny. Like, he used to write and present a sort of topical program on BBC Two called Newswipe, where he would talk about the week, and he's, like in the news and what was going on, and he's got like a really funny kind of turn of phrase and everything, and you can kind of feel, he wrote this episode, and I'm sure he doesn't write, in fact I'm pretty certain he doesn't write every single episode of Black Mirror. I'm sure they have other writers, but his fingerprint, if you know his work, his fingerprints are quite present on this, because it is a really dark story, but there's a lot of levity in it, and he's in a way he kind of lampoons these true crime documentaries that Netflix has become quite famous for, and they're still putting new ones out like now, right? I think they just put one. There's one just dropped about the daughter of the BTK killer in America or something like that, right? So, and it's quite cool that Netflix they seem quite happy to have a bit of fun poked at them there as well, because obviously it ends, like the film that they're making ends up on Netflix at the end, so he did one, Charlie Brooker, before he did Black Mirror and before he did Newswipe, he did one called Dead Set that's got Ray Winston's daughter in it, and it imagines a sort of zombie apocalypse happening during Big Brother, and the contestants locked in the house have no idea what's going on outside the walls and stuff. And it was on Channel 4. It's like a sort of television film. I can't remember if it was a two-parter or if it was a television film. But there's a scene where Ray Winston's daughter, before it all kicks off, she's getting off with our producer in an office, and somebody comes in and they kind of break apart, and she goes, "Oh, it smells like fingering in here," which is just such a Charlie Brooker sort of expression. And I think the thing that I enjoyed about this, and the thing that I think Charlie Brooker's really good at, is that he can present what is at its heart like a serious, sort of shocking, what would you call it? Sort of crime, murder, mystery story, but still have those little kind of, the whole thing in this with the Bergerac tapes. and Janet and the conversation with Pia and Davis, and how Davis saying, "Oh, you know, my mum thought that John Nettles had a nice bum," just as Janet comes in and all that kind of stuff. You know, so there is the humour's kind of gentle until we get to Stuart, played by Daniel Portman, who's like perhaps the star of the show. Very funny. Like, very funny. But, you know, he's really good at... He can have these really funny exchanges between the characters and still have elements of real horror and stuff in there.
Yeah. I think there is you're perfectly right. It is the mix of things like that. And you do feel the character of Stuart is Charlie Brooker kind of coming out, you know, but it's perfectly formed. The first time he sees Davis, he's, you know, "How you doing, you fucking wank?" That's how people greet each other in Scotland, you know. When his dad comes down, he's like, "Oh, speak of the cunt." And it's perfect, you know. But you're right. Stuart has the perfect Charlie Brooker kind of line as well when they are speaking about the horrors and atrocities that Ian Adair did and how the town was rocked, or it was the fact the tourists had gone missing and it was in all the papers, and then Diana died and nobody gave a fuck. And it's it's the perfect kind of like, oh yeah, you're right, that did. Like, the amount of news stories that must have been buried that week when Diana died. You know, I'd love to go back and read the newspapers for that week, because I bet there's some amount of stuff in there that you're like, yeah, did that happen? I've no idea. And I would say the reveal at the end, where you have the old videotape, which we'll discuss, and then you have, you know, "Come Baby Come" by K7 playing in the background, is just amazing. I remember buying that CD single. I was 12 years old and was probably singing along like, "Come Baby Come, baby come, come," not realising what the fuck I was singing. But my word, yeah. But yeah, the Bergerac part, just absolutely. And yeah, the lovely Charlie Brooker, and it was obviously re-recorded, the UK Gold segment of when the episode of Bergerac ends, and you know, he's just like, and now let's find out what Jacko's been up to in Brushstrokes.
I wonder if the BBC perhaps wouldn't have allowed them to present like it had been taped off the BBC. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wonder if they'd be like, no, we're not. We don't want you to. You can mention Bergerac, but you can't do that. Maybe whereas UK Gold probably don't give a fuck. You know, it's like they literally just play everything that none of the other channels want to play anymore.
I mean, we might as well speak about Bergerac now before we speak about the episode. You were a big fan, weren't you? Because you were quite upset recently that they were doing a remake of it.
I really like Bergerac. It was in a sort of Lovejoy slot on a Sunday night, and it wasn't on too late, so you could watch it before you went to bed if it was a school night, which Sundays usually were. And I would watch it with my gran. She liked it as well. I don't know if she thought that John Nettles had a nice bum. If she did, she never mentioned it. But but yeah, it was great. Hey, fucking John Nettles. He always like looked like, you know, if you have to see it through the lens of watching it in the sort of early and mid 80s, but he always looked like the best dressed guy on the island. They had the flash car. He could do a little stunt now and again, old John, if he had to, do you know what I mean, to catch a baddie. It was fucking great. But I've not watched it for years, you know.
I was never really a fan of Bergerac for some reason. I didn't watch it. And I remember when they announced the remake, you messaged me with the news and you were quite angry. I was like, I don't really care. And you did say to me, imagine they were remaking Lovejoy. and I was like, I'd be fucking raging at that. And you were like, exactly, that's how I feel about Bergerac. So I thought that summed up quite well. It's funny you just mentioned Lovejoy again, because I would go mental if they were remaking Lovejoy. Yeah. But Bergerac kind of passed me by. But it's good to know that you have fond memories of it. And it reminds you of your gran, so that's a good thing as well.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing she liked to watch. Bergerac, Howard's Way. Dynasty.
She would have been a big fan of The House of Eliot, or was that a bit later?
Maybe a wee bit later, I think. I'm trying to think what she liked. My granny, she used to like, she watched everything like that. She watched all the soaps. So she even watched like the sort of Australian soaps that would be on in the afternoon when you were at school, like Sons and Daughters and The Country Practice and Young Doctors and stuff like that, you know, like Home and Away. She would, if she was out, she would set the video and tape it all and watch it when she got in. She liked Prisoner. She would stay up late and watch Prisoner, Cell Block H. So it used to be on quite late, didn't it? Yeah, so she was just mad into the telly. My gran, so she was my granny. And Bergerac was one of her programs. I think she liked Lovejoy as well, but by the time Lovejoy was on, I don't remember watching. I never really watched Lovejoy. Probably doing other things.
So we have Loch Henry. The premise, I mean, it begins obviously that Davis returns home with his girlfriend Pia, and they are staying with his mum. And he's here they're obviously film students. They're here to film a documentary about eggs. There's an egg man that they're doing. So when the initial meeting with the mum, Janet, it's a little bit awkward in terms of because Pia is American and I guess more point she's black. When Janet does have the slightly awkward interaction of, oh, did you grow up in America or are you originally from, and Davis just cuts her off, and it was like, oh wow, okay, that's, you know, we're going there. But I'm sure Janet didn't mean anything by that. It was just I thought it was a perfectly plausible question, but Davis is maybe a little bit sensitive about that, I think.
Pia, Mum, Pia.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
Janet. Pretty wee thing you've captured.
Mum.
Hey, I'm flattered. Thank you.
I like your accent.
Ditto.
What was that, love?
Ditto. Ditto.
Oh! So, did you grow up in America, or are you originally from...
Jesus, Mum.
U.S. born and bred.
Okay. I hope you're both hungry.
Yeah, I think they're sort of trying to present the community as, you know, like fairly traditional, and she's a very traditional woman. This maybe hasn't gone very far, blah, blah, blah. The funny thing is, it's filmed in Inverary and Luss, which is Loch Lomond, basically. And Luss is where they used to film the exterior scenes for Take the High Road.
Okay.
It's nice.
I know that.
Luss is a lovely little lochside town, so it is.
But maybe it is that kind of, you're right. That's what they're trying to maybe get across. Because even Stuart, when they first meet, and Stuart doesn't seem fazed at all, but when Davis says about my course, and Stuart says, oh, your course, and Pia says, oh, they should name it after me, and Stuart says, well, that would be the smart move, what with fucking diversity and all. Like, what the fuck? Like, oh my god. They are presented in just this little town. So they're obviously we learn that Davis's dad, Kenny, was a policeman and has passed away, and the town is just like a ghost town now. Yeah. And we go to the pub, and Stuart kind of runs the pub with his dad, but it's the only pub left. There was 3 pubs, now there's 1, and the town is just completely decimated. And I thought that, as it turns out, we find out why. There was a guy, Ian Adair, who was kidnapping and killing tourists. And I think it goes to show that, like, the impact something like that has on a town. And I know it's different and it's real life, but like whenever you hear Lockerbie or Dunblane, you instantly think about that and like the terrible atrocities that occurred there. Now, I've been in Dunblane a few times because the Aberdeen supporters bus used to stop in Dunblane when it was going to Glasgow. And we'd stop in Dunblane for like 2 hours and drink in this pub. And it was a cracking little place. I have fond memories of Dunblane. But whenever anyone mentions it, the first thing that comes into your head is the tragedy that occurred there.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, and the same with Lockerbie. I mean, it's forever. I mean, Lockerbie perhaps has got a bit of a disadvantage to Dunblane, because Dunblane is neighbours Stirling, whereas Lockerbie is a bit isolated. You know what I mean? And it's always going to have the sort of stigma of what happened there. But yeah, I mean, the way that they present, and you know, this is where you see the Netflix money at work, the way they've managed to dress up Inverary High Street to make it look run down, and then the way they've dressed it up to make it, when they're showing the sort of news footage from the 1990s, And even before that, when they're showing the footage of the sort of pipe bands marching up the high street and showing how vibrant the community used to be when the tourists used to come and all that sort of stuff. I mean, they fucking spent a fortune. They spent an absolute fortune on that.
I know, and it looks really impressive. Like, it does look like, I wondered if it was stock footage.
Right.
Because it does look like it is transported back to a time with Highland Games and stuff. But
some of it might be.
yeah,
really,
they
I'm not sure.
really, possibly.
Yeah.
But yeah, they really have spared expense. But yeah, you really do believe this town is like run down and that it's just, there's nothing there. It's just on its arse because I guess people are associating it with the murders, and it's like you don't want to go there. Ironically, as it turns out, at the end of the episode, it's thriving because of the murders.
Yes, exactly.
This thing.
Exactly.
So Davis and Pia, they decide to make a film about these murders that Ian Adair did. Now, I thought Pia was she was really forceful in terms of wanting to do this. And she was even like, Davis is like, I don't know. And she's like, well, if you don't make it, I will. Pia comes across as a bit of a bitch in that area. She's just headstrong. She's wanting to do this, not really thinking about how much this could affect Davis because his dad was kind of a victim of Ian Adair, the murderer, because he was shot by him and then developed MRSA in hospital and then died as a result of the illness. So is that a bit insensitive for her, or is she just thinking about the goal of making a great film?
I think that they try to present her as the sort of brash American, because things like the events that have happened in the, to the community, those types of things are, they're pretty common in the US, right? I just finished, when I was away, I watched the Ed Gein story with Charlie Hunnam playing the killer and stuff, and and that's kind of presented as he's like the original that kicks off this, he inspires films like Psycho and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but he also inspires guys like Ted Bundy and Richard Speck and all these other notorious fucking American wrongins. It's Ryan Murphy who did American Horror Story and stuff. You get the feeling that he's a bit preachy, is all I'll say about it. It's fine. Charlie Hunnam's good if you decide to watch it. But so you kind of get the feeling with Pia that this isn't something, she sort of doesn't realise necessarily how insensitive she's being because she's sort of shaped by her own culture. You know what I mean?
No, I can agree with you on that. Possibly that is, desensitized and things. And I guess you have to think this is a small town. It's really affected them. There is the personal issues and maybe not used to thinking. That could be a very kind of good way to look at it. I mean, overall, she is a good character.
Yeah, she's great.
I
like her, yeah.
Like, she is. I mean, her lack of eyebrows are a little bit disturbing, but obviously that was kind of a trend back then. She's bleached her eyebrows, so it kind of looks like she hasn't got any. It's a bit odd, but yeah, she's a good character. Like, she's obviously, she knows what she's talking about. She knows what she wants, and she seems like her and Davis are a good couple in terms of that. And
they are.
Well, then what do you want to make? A meditation on the Eggman of rum that will maybe play at a festival and maybe be admired by a couple dozen documentary nerds, or something that people will watch, something they actually want to see? If you don't want to make it, I will.
And she makes jokes in terms of about his mum, not about his mum, but about Bergerac's arse and stuff like that. But she feels bad that she's kind of putting her foot in it, and she's trying to make a good impression and be nice, but obviously just kind of, putting your foot in it a little bit, things going wrong, it's a bit of humour in that aspect.
Well, yeah, that's a thing so Janet, who is Davis's mum, played by Monica Dolan. Monica Dolan is not Scottish; she's English, and her accent's not bad as far as Scottish accents go, but it's a wee bit Hebridean, I thought. You know what I mean? Because this is a community that's only about 40 minutes drive from Glasgow, and they sort of present it as being isolated and everyone's a bit backwards and blah blah blah. But there's a nice little bit of foretelling when Davis is telling Pia about what Adair's been up to for all these years, all these missing people, and he says, the countryside round here can be dangerous. And then obviously Pia comes to a bit of a sticky end, not because she's murdered, but because when she's running away from Janet, she trips over in a burn and whacks her head and dies instantly. But yeah, I like a bit of foretelling.
I think, there is quite a lot in this because one of the first things that Janet says when they arrive is she says, "Oh, what a pretty little thing you've captured." Yeah. And you're like, that's a strange turn of phrase, but of course everything is revealed.
Yeah.
We see the mask is on the wall.
Yeah,
When we're in, you're not sure you don't notice it until towards the end. And then of course all the Bergerac tapes are the biggest kind of foreshadowing, kind of that is the Chekhov's gun of the episodes, all the Bergerac tapes. It's fantastic and very well done.
So when Pia discovers the footage and the sort of twist is revealed that it's been Davis's late father and his mum, and who have been in cahoots with Adair, but because of the way Monica Dolan has played Janet throughout, and then she bursts in on the footage, she bursts in the sort of PVC nurse's costume, and she's got the mask on and stuff. She's sort of genuinely scary.
Yeah.
It's a bit like when Norman Bates loses it in Psycho. Do you know what I mean? Because he's so genial and nice and stuff up until the moment that he's not, and when there's a sort of shades of that with Janet as well. Like it's quite shocking, just like the look in her face and everything, and the way she sort of struts in and with the drill and stuff like that.
Oh, it's terrifying. Like, as you say, she's such a gentle woman, and but I think the choice of the accent is part of that as well, because very trusting, very gentle. Oh, and then with the way she's talking about the Eggman and things, and it's just very nice. And you're right, when she bursts in with a drill, and she's screaming and laughing and waving the drill in their face and putting it on, and you're horrified by this, thinking, what the fuck is going on? It really does hit the mark. And it's so well done in terms of it's a very nervous and tense time because you're waiting for something to happen.
Yeah.
You've got, there's been I guess we're all over the place here, but there's been a little car accident and Davis is in hospital. So Pia and Janet are just in the house themselves. Janet's making a shepherd's pie. Pia's digitizing the footage that they filmed on one of the Bergerac tapes in the murder house. And the tension of Janet making the shepherd's pie.
Yeah.
And Pia there. And you don't know what's coming, but you know something's coming.
Yeah.
And you're waiting, and the tense moment, and the reveal is just masterfully and wonderfully done. In that you're so shocked. And then it cuts to Janet, just, the mashed potatoes. She's just gently doing it. And then you're seeing her in a PVC nurse's outfit with this drill. Yeah. And when she appears, kind of like, oh, shepherd's pie's ready. You're really with Pia in terms of what the fuck. Now, Pia goes downstairs and she's eating the shepherd's pie and looks at the mask, and Janet's like, oh, we had a lot of fun. Still being all nice and gentle. When Pia runs off, first of all, did Pia do the right thing? Because Janet had no idea. But inside, your instinct would be to get the fuck out of there.
For sure.
So you have to say, I guess she did do the right thing, because what else is she going to do? Sit there and eat the shepherd's pie and then go to bed and wait for the next day. But Janet does kind of turn when she's chasing after her.
Yeah.
And you have to think, what would she have done if she'd caught Pia? Would she have killed her? Or that's one thing that I guess we'll never know.
Yeah.
But it's a strange, what would she have done? Talk to her? Tried to calm her? Say, oh, it was a long time ago or something? Or I don't know what the instinct was there, but she was chasing her, and she did have a massive flashlight to try and find her.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, it's one of those. And then she has that, she realises, because she doesn't know that Pia's fallen and hit her head. So she thinks that her initial reaction is Pia's gotten away and I'm not going to be able to find her. And so she has this outburst in the middle of the road where she just starts shouting, "God!"
No. Can't! Fuck! Can't! Can't! Fuck! Can't! Can't! Fuck! 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 Oh!
Again, fantastic. This is such a straight-laced, beautiful, prim woman. And then you're just seeing her, shouting fucking cunt and losing it and going mental. And then she just regains her composure, goes home, gets her shoebox of photos of all the victims out, and she's smiling when she's looking at it, remembering the fond times, and puts her mask on, and
hangs herself.
Yeah.
Does herself in.
Yeah, does herself in, effectively, after leaving a nice little note for Davis to say, for your film.
So there's a scene that I think's really, really effective is when Davis and Pia and Stuart break into the murder house. Because they're trying to create sort of found footage using the old video camera that they found in Davis's mum and dad's house, and they've got they've got the sort of forensic suits and stuff on, and they're those sort of scenes are, when they're done right, they're really, really, really powerful. And every time, again, I know that it's my mind just playing tricks on me, but if I'm ever somewhere that's really historical, like I get a wee kind of, just because, I don't know, my mind sort of goes to, everything that it's just such an old place. You know what I mean? If I was like, if we were looking through the dungeons in Edinburgh Castle or something like that, I remember going to Mary King's Close in Edinburgh, which is the street that they found under the Royal Mile about 30 years ago, and it's sort of, they had basically, true fucking brutal oldie world. Everybody had the plague in the street, so they just fucking bricked it in and built on top of it and left everybody in there to die. It's fucking horrendous. But now it's a tourist attraction, and you have to go down into it, and it's fucking pitch black. And there's all those, they've got like sort of actors playing period characters, kind of touring you around, you know what I mean? Yeah. And stuff like that. And there's a bit when you go into a room, and I can't remember the story they're telling you, but they're telling you this story. And they had, when we went, like all the lights are out, and it is like literally, your eye, it's so dark that your eyes can't adjust. And we were sitting in there, and they're telling this story, and it wasn't like a spooky story, it was just a fucking grim story about what they found when they opened up this house or something all those years later. And something fell over outside. It was like, it was the sort of noise that happens if somebody knocks like a broom over or a mop over and the handle clatters off the floor. Well, fuck me. I jumped. The woman sitting next to me fucking screamed like she was caught in a fucking mousetrap or something. But those, like when they're talking about in that scene about how they, like it's eerie and, and think about what's happened in this room, and then, Stuart gets the black light out. You can see all the bloods and stuff that's still there because it shows up in that light. It's really effective. And I remember the first time I watched it, I was thinking, is something going to happen to them?
Yes, you are waiting
sort of Blair Witch style at the scene of the crime,
What I particularly like about that scene is that they're in there, they're in the suits, the old video camera, and Stuart has a bottle of lemon juice with him. And because he's going to spray it around so it looks like blood, piss, and spunk, he says, under a black light. But then he switches on the black light and he's like, we don't need the lemon juice because the place is just fucking covered in stains. And it's a really horrific, but it's a beautiful insight to show that they were prepared to fake this kind of footage and to fake this stuff, but they didn't need to because it was all there anyway. And bizarre that the police hadn't cleaned, I guess they wouldn't have cleaned up that crime scene. They're just going to leave it because
brick it up.
Yeah, exactly. Just leave that house. It doesn't need to be needed anymore. But I agree. That is a wonderful little insight. And of course, there is a nice little montage when they're filming stuff, especially with the drone. And that's a beautiful part as well, where Stuart's enthusiastic. Yeah, we'll film it. I've got a drone. And Davis, of course you've got a fucking drone. And Stuart, of course you're a fucking cunt about it. It's,
Cunts get a load of this place in their 4K fucking flat screens, and they will be crawling all over us like flies on dog shite. But with money. I've even got a drone you can use. Opening shot.
Moody piano chord. I love it.
Of course you got a drone.
Of course you're a cunt about it.
The Stuart character, I agree, steals it almost because he is just how mates speak to each other. And perfectly formed character. He is the Scottish part of this, without a doubt.
Yeah. Well, it's Daniel Portman, who we had on the episodes. Not the last one, the one before when we did Fear, because he plays Martin Compston's brother. And, you know, what I like about him is he sort of was made famous by being in Game of Thrones. And in Game of Thrones, he plays quite a permissible character. He's quite quiet, English accent. He's a squire for a knight. His name's Podrick. Spoilers if you've not seen Game of Thrones. He makes it to the very end. So to see him, especially as Stuart. I mean, it's about as far away from that Podrick character he played in Game of Thrones, I think, as it's possible to get. He's just
okay. Oh, great.
Yeah, he really sort of showing his chops as an actor in this. And he's a lot bigger than I thought he was. He's like a big, he seems a lot taller and kind of broader than I took him to be. But yeah, he's fantastic in it.
And of course, the kind of big red herring that kind of goes throughout it is his dad, played by John Hannah. We actually do have, a proper Scottish actor in this. Not that I'm saying Daniel isn't a Scottish actor, but, in terms of having an established Scottish name in this, we have John Hannah, as doesn't have many lines. He's basically just Stuart's pissed father who hasn't done much since his wife died. The bar's running into the ground and he just sits and drinks all day. And he is obviously very upset that they are digging into this case of Ian Adair, and it's very much a red herring. You think he's got something to do with it and he knows something. And I think that's quite well done. You need a red herring in a show like this, and he masterfully does it. And wonderful John Hannah just playing a pissed up guy, effectively.
Yeah, he's very good in this, John Hannah. And I was thinking, we've not had him, considering that he's got to be one of the best known Scottish actors that kind of working at the moment. Well, I'm just trying to think what we'd had him on. I know we had him on the one about Paul Ferris, the wee man, and we had him on Rebus last year. Was that last year we did his Rebus, or the year before?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. And I was thinking, what else have we had him on? But I'm not so sure.
He was in... Was he in something? I'm trying to remember now. I've got a funny feeling. Was he in the... He wasn't in the... No, I'm making that up. He wasn't in the Bogeyman, was he? Or is that because we did that around about the same time as Rebus, I think? So maybe I've mixed that up in my memory. Let me have a look. John Hannah has made 4 appearances on the Culture Swally, including today's episode. Right. So I have to go back through. John Hannah, of course, Greg, how could you forget acting as I think he was a big baddie, wasn't he? Opposite Samuel L. Jackson in Damaged.
Oh, yes. Yes, he played the serial killer, didn't he? That's right. Yeah.
He did. So he was in Damaged, he was in Rebus, and I guess you're right, the third thing that he appeared in was, of course, The Wee Man. So yeah, this is John Hannah's only his 4th appearance on the Swally, which does seem a bit strange, because you're right, he is a big established Scottish actor, but maybe he hasn't been in a huge amount of Scottish things over the years.
Yeah, he was too busy making 4 Weddings and a Funeral and the Mummy franchise and all that kind of thing, wasn't he?
I think that is probably what people, when I've read reviews on this online or anything, it has been John Hannah from The Mummy. So I think that probably is what his lasting legacy would be. To me, I would agree 4 Weddings is probably, he does have one of the most impactful parts in that film, I think.
I think probably the one that should have made John Hannah a bigger star than it did was Sliding Doors with Paltrow.
Yes.
Because he's, the second lead, isn't he? He's a second lead in that. He's a romantic lead. He's obviously, with Gwyneth Paltrow, who was probably one of the biggest female actors. I think she was just before she did Shakespeare in Love, wasn't it? And all that, or maybe just after she did it. I can't remember. And I really thought that would be the one that would kind of put John Hannah to sort of Ewan McGregor sort of levels of international fame. But maybe it's because he's got the face of a fairly typical Scottish guy.
You get the impression with that, though, with John Hannah, that he probably could have had the fame, but he just couldn't be arsed.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
He's got that look about him, like, I can't be fucked with that, no. I think that's maybe why Rebus was so good for him. And I know we discussed it on Rebus as well, but the thing I love John Hannah in the most is probably A Touch of Claw. That sums up John Hannah for me, just deadpan humour. Again, of course, written by Charlie Brooker. So I think that's my favourite John Hannah, I think, performance in that. But he's brilliant in this, like really good. Just you really think there's something up, and then of course he reveals at the end that him and his wife had a bit of a sex party with Kay and Janet, and he'd always thought something was a little bit up, but he wasn't sure. He always suspected they were involved, but couldn't prove it, I guess. But he got his just kind of desserts there at the end. Well, not his just desserts, but he was proven right at the end when it turns out that they were.
I mean, I thought there'd be another twist in the tale, and that would be that John Hannah was involved. His character was involved somehow,
Yeah, that might have been a little bit better as well, but maybe just leave him out.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Don't know.
So let me ask you a question, right? If you were going to commit some horrendous crimes, film them, what TV programme taped off the telly would you hide your shocking footage amongst?
It'd probably be Lovejoy, wouldn't it? No, it wouldn't be Lovejoy. I am trying to remember now, because I did... fuck it. Back in the day, I did used to have a stash of, let's just say, pornography, adult material downloaded on a hard drive. And in case anyone would look at the hard drive, I think I cannot remember which TV show I had it under, but it was under a TV show, but it was like, I want to say, it might have been like The Wire Series 6.
Right.
Now, the reason being, there is no Series 6 of The Wire, but if someone did have the hard drive and they decided, I'll watch The Wire, they've got to sit through 5 seasons of The Wire before they get into videos downloaded from allover30.com or something like that, or Wank It Now. So you're going to have to be dedicated to get that. So I think that was where I stashed it. So I don't know, but if I was to do it nowadays, I don't know.
I was going to say, it's good to see that you didn't put too much thought into it back in the day.
I think, I don't know. Well, see, I had a similar question for you. Like back in the day, what were you taping anything off the telly and keeping it on VHS, like organised, like Janet's Bergerac videos?
No. Like my dad used to tape everything. I think I mentioned before, when we emptied his bedroom, we were getting rid of VCRs with like entire runs of Blackadder on there. You know what I mean? Or movies that he taped. The only thing I remember asking, like my dad's friend had Sky, and we never had Sky. And I remembered getting him to tape when Tim Burton's first Batman film was first shown on Sky. I think it was around 1991. I got him to tape it for me, so I had a copy of it. And I got him to tape all the Simpsons for me. Like, just as many as he could fit, like, on a 3-hour tape. And I also got him to tape SummerSlam 91 for me as well. And Survivor Series 1991.
It must be such a thing, because I was the same in terms of, I think my sister got Sky, and I remember the first 2 things I asked her to tape was Clive Barker's Nightbreed.
Oh, yeah.
On Sky. And
good film.
WrestleMania 8. And got her to tape that for me as well.
92, something like that? 89.
Exactly, 1992, yeah, of course. But I did tape a lot of stuff off TV. I guess I was like your dad. I remember I had VHS with quite a lot of episodes of Friends for my sins. I don't know why. And then I had stuff
there's no shame in that. I watched a few episodes of Friends recently with my daughter because she's into it, and there's a lot of really funny moments in Friends. I don't care what anybody says.
And I think, stuff like Game On. I had like the first 3 series of that, like taped off the telly and stuff. And I think I started taping The Sopranos. And then, then obviously as the series go on, it's easily to get them, they come out on DVD. Or I was a bit of a download king by that stage. So I was just downloading them from the internet.
The thing about, I was thinking about this recently, right? Which at the time I didn't give a fuck about, but now as an adult I think, what a selfish little prick you were, because back then to tape something off Sky, it had to you couldn't watch anything else on Sky when it was taping. You know what I mean? So these kinds of people who were taping The Simpsons for me like every day until a 3-hour tape was filled, 6 days, and Batman and the rest of the stuff, they either had to watch it or they were stuck with their council telly until the film was finished. I don't even recall expressing any extra gratitude or anything for them doing it for me. I remember my dad just delivering the tapes to me and going, yes, and watching them like immediately, you know what I mean? Like stopping whatever we're planning to do. We're not doing that anymore because I want to watch Batman 4 times in a row. Or SummerSlam 91.
You've just spent some time with your mum and stepdad in the family home. Did they have any VHSs kicking around? Were you tempted to see if there was anything on?
My stepdad for some reason, has retained his collection. He's a big motorcycle sport fan, my stepdad, and he used to buy the famous race is the TT in the Isle of Man, and he would buy like the sort of highlights tapes every year. And he's probably still got all those videos like in the loft of his garage for sure, because he's a terrible hoarder as well, much like my father was, but he's just a much more organised one than my dad was. And crucially, he wasn't, and my stepdad isn't an opportunistic thief like my dad was. Such as, like a fucking cupboard just full of various tools that had been taken from jobs he was working on, fucking broom handles in the loft, just in case anybody might need one. But my stepdad's not so much like that. Like, everything he hoards, he's come by honestly. But yeah, he's probably. I wouldn't be surprised if like my sister's Disney collection that they had on VHS when they were wee is still somewhere in that fucking house, archived away, Well, as long as they are just TT and Disney tapes. But the thing is, like, watching something like this, it does, you do think, when the time comes that you have to perhaps go through a beloved one's possessions when they're no longer here, it was bad enough finding my dad's antique pornography stash from the 1980s. But finding like, I thought, what if I find like naked photographs of my stepmom or something like that? Because they were young, they might have been into that kind of thing when they were young.
Yeah.
Who knows, Yeah. But my stepmom in a fucking white PVC nurse's costume. Oh, well, thanks, mate.
Oh, there's something to keep you awake tonight, Greg, and you're thinking about that. Right. Anyway, let's go back to Loch Henry. Yeah. So, we discover that Janet is, of course, the and Davis's mum and dad were behind, along with Ian and Adair. Yeah. They were the murdering the tourists, and after having their sexual gratification with them. So Pia dies. She's running away from Janet. She falls in a burn and hits her head in a rock.
Yeah.
Janet leaves the videotapes and photographs and mementos from the murders that's been committed for Davis and hangs herself, and that's that. So then it cuts to the documentary that has been made.
Yeah.
It's a Streamberry. I do find that quite amusing in terms of, in the Black Mirror universe, the Netflix is called Streamberry.
Yeah.
But they do reference Netflix in this episode as well. So it's a bit confusing. You have, I guess, two rival streaming platforms. So you have a Streamberry, and it shows effectively the trailer for the documentary. And it's so well done because you genuinely would believe this was a Netflix documentary.
Yeah.
Davis wins the BAFTA for it. Fantastic. Now, this should be a happy time, but Davis is fucked at the end. And this is the beautiful kind of last shot. You see him looking at his BAFTA and crying and looking at the note from his mum. Now, he's lost everyone he loves. Like, his identity, like, is fucked. His mum is gone. His girlfriend's gone. He can't really move on properly because he's now forever linked to this, because his identity is all about this first film he's made that has won a BAFTA. He will forever be remembered as that guy, the Loch Henry murders guy. And how do you move on from that? You can't, surely.
No, that's how. Well, like, you're right. I mean, it's not just his loved ones that he's lost. His ambitions are in the fucking toilet now as well. Because exactly as you say, he's forever attached to these horrible crimes, despite having nothing directly to do with them.
And then, of course, the flip side of this is that the town is now thriving.
Yeah.
The pub has been booked up for weeks. We see them in the pub watching the BAFTAs. Stuart's there holding court. There's women behind him wearing the masks that Janet was wearing in the videos. And it's become, like, could you imagine that? Could you imagine going to a pub like last weekend and watching the news and celebrating Ian Watkins' death wearing an Ian Watkins mask? Like, could you imagine that? But that's exactly what these women are doing in the pub, which is a brilliant kind of insight from Charlie Brooker in terms of how the obsession with true crime had taken over and how people were kind of not glamorizing, but in a way they were kind of these murderers and things, these atrocities that had happened. And this was just a bit of light entertainment to them. It is, something.
It's sort of a much more intelligent way of, or perhaps a more modern way and intelligent way of making the point that I suppose Scream 2 is trying to make. You know what I mean?
Very true.
It's a bit more delicate, perhaps, but I do wonder if he is making a bit of a commentary on the sort of Americanization of culture and all that kind of thing. Perhaps, maybe he is, maybe he's not. I'm not sure, but I think he's definitely making the point that perhaps these true crime things shouldn't be sort of consumed in the way that they're typically consumed, And
I think he does make light of it in parts as well. I mean, when they've just been in the house and they've been down in the dungeon and seen everything, then they're in the car and they're laughing about it. They're singing songs, the rendition of In the Navy, when they're singing, in the dungeon, you'll suffer sex atrocities in the dungeon. But they're having such a laugh about it that then they crash into like an oncoming car. It's never identified who they crashed into. Yeah. I did read a few reviews and stuff, but people misinterpreted it and thought that it was Richard, Stuart's dad, that they'd crashed into because he's in the hospital. Yeah. He's obviously in the hospital because of the fall
down the
he
stairs
said earlier.
Yeah.
But it looks, I kind of freezed it again, and it looks like it's a massive truck that they crash into. And you're like, you're not just going to come out of that with a little neck brace and concussion. And Pia is completely unscathed. Yeah. Like, that's a big crash. It's a head-on collision you've had. You're not going home a couple of hours after that.
No, for sure. It seems like the only one who's really injured is Davis. Like, Stuart's kind of walking wounded. And Pia, that you say, hasn't got a fucking mark on her. But I thought the first time I saw it that, maybe it's somebody to do with the murders that's crashed into them. You know what I mean? Maybe there's more people involved here because obviously this is the crash happens before we find out that Janet has been involved.
Yeah, it definitely is. So yeah, it was a bit of a mystery as to who that they crashed into. Now, do you think could this have worked as like a 3-part story? Right, obviously it's Black Mirror, it's a standalone episode, but could this have expanded a little and been like maybe a 3-part
sure.
Little kind of like Fear, for example, little story to flesh it out a bit more.
Definitely. There just would have been probably a fucking sort of retrospective episode like they seem to have in every long running fucking TV series at the minute, where they have a whole episode dedicated to fucking historical exposition, But yeah, I'm sure they definitely could. They'd probably start it in the 90s and maybe show you Davis as a wee boy and his mum and dad together and everything and do it that way. But, I do like the sort of short form storytelling that they do in Black Mirror and similar. It's funny because I've been watching some episodes of The Twilight Zone over the last couple of weeks, like ones I've not seen before. And there's some that you watch them and you think, I'm sure I've seen that before, but in a movie. You know what I mean? Like there was one that I watched the other day about a guy who wakes up in bed and his wife doesn't recognise him and nobody recognises him and all that sort of stuff, and he's running around for 20 minutes trying to persuade people that he is a real person and he's not mad, And then of course there's I won't tell you the sting in the tail because you might watch it one day, but of course there's the brilliant sting in the tail. But the thing about the Twilight Zone that is maybe a bit similar to Black Mirror is like I know Charlie Brooker doesn't write all of them, but I think he writes a lot of them, and that was true of the Twilight Zone. It was Rod Serling who wrote almost all of them, or adapted work by guys like Richard Matheson or stuff like famous writers of the time, to the point where he had to cancel it because he was just fucking exhausted after however many episodes there was, like 140 half-an-hour episodes of the Twilight Zone. And I wonder if that's why there's always like quite a big gap between the Black Mirror series. You know what I mean? Like, because back in the 50s, probably Rod Serling was probably in a bit of a tight contract where he basically had to do it and he was required to do it, whereas Charlie Brooker's maybe a bit more, the modern age, a bit more savvy, and like, well, we'll give you another series every 2 years because it takes a long time to fucking write these things and make them and cast them and make them. And
yeah, I think there has to be. I mean, I think that's why Inside Number 9, for example, every episode was written by Reece Shearsmith and Steve Pemberton, and they got to 9 series, and then they're like, okay, that's it. Enough. It's a perfect time to end it, because it must be
they also act in them, but they act in them as well. They're not just writing them; they're acting in them as well. It must be. It must not leave a lot of time for much else.
No, no, not at all. Not at all. So. Do you think should we have had justice for the Eggman? Like, I hope someone made his film, because poor guy, he's just trying to protect these eggs, but its story's never told. I hope someone told it eventually.
Yeah, I thought there might be a little post credit, or maybe even like coming soon on Streamberry, the Eggman of Rum.
I was going to ask you about your favourite Black Mirror episodes, but I guess you haven't watched many, you kind of interspersed, so you probably... This
is probably my favourite one of the ones I've watched. It's probably this one. Yeah, probably this one. Okay. I would imagine. Yeah. What about you?
I think my favourite is Shut Up and Dance, which is the one where a kid is being blackmailed about something they've been looking at online.
Oh, okay.
I think, and Jerome Flynn is in it as well. Right. And then it kind of, the kid's been hacked and saying that he's been looking at things, and it's very good. I won't spoil the ending in case you haven't seen it, but I think that's maybe like the second or third series. Shut Up and Dance. It's very, very good. Okay. Very good episode.
I'll check it out. I mean, I think I'd probably watch the ones if there was actors starring that I liked. Like I watched the one with Jodie Whittaker and Toby Kebbell when they've got the sort of eye thing,
Yeah, I can't remember the name of that one. But I know the one you mean,
Yeah.
That was a very good episode, yeah. No, it's good. I mean, it's a great show, but I need to watch the most recent series because, I agree. I think the first episode of the recent series has like Chris O'Dowd in it.
Oh, right.
And it's it was very good, very entertaining, but just very Chris O'Dowd and Rashida Jones. And I'm a big fan of Rashida Jones.
Me too, yeah.
But it was just so fucking depressing that it was like, okay. But I need to go back and watch them some more. But very good. But Loch Henry, cracking episode. Very good.
Okay, so let's put Loch Henry through our coveted Culture Swally awards. And we'll go in with the first award, as always. It's the Bobby the Barman Award for the best pub. There's only one pub in it, Stuart's Pub, but it looks like a belter. I happily have a few Guinness in there.
Yeah, the Loch Side Inn. Yeah, it looks like a cracking pub. During the day and in the evening when it's busy. No, it's a cracking little pub. Definitely go with that.
Next then, the Cosmo Award for being in everything Scottish. So, I mean, for me in this one, I went with John Hannah, but, I think I could see a time in the future where we might be putting Daniel Portman forward for this award, perhaps.
I'd hope so. I mean, I hope things pick up, in terms of more things. He was in this. He was obviously in Fear. Excellent in both. So, I really hope so. I'll be looking out. And, he's got an excellent teacher in his dad of telling him, Ron Donaghy's in fucking everything. So I hope that he follows the same. I agree. I had John Hannah, unless Kirsty Walk counts.
Well, she's not an actor. She's a TV presenter. So no, I don't.
We'll go with John Hannah for that. Then, definitely.
So the next award then is the Jake McQuillan Award for unexpected violence. Despite the subject matter, it's not really violent. I chose Pia whacking her head off the stone because I really felt it. you know.
So you've said Pia whacking her head on a stone. I've got written down Pia smacking her head on a rock. So I'd say we've pretty much similar, almost there. There's not really, you can't have anything about the actual murders because you don't see, like, you know, Janet. Obviously, that's a shocking, but it's not teased out. But yeah, I've gone with. I guess you see in the flashback Kenny getting shot, or do you see the blast and then him kind of knocking down?
We don't really see him from the waist, don't we, Kenny? I think.
Yeah. I'll go with Pia smacking her head on the rock. Let's go with that.
Now, the next award would be the Hugh McGregor Award for gratuitous nudity. There isn't any gratuitous nudity, but that's okay, because the next award is the Francis Begbie Award for gratuitous swearing, of which there was a lot. A personal favourite is Cuntapathic Killer, which is one of Stuart's. You have any particular favourites there?
I mean, it's all Stuart's. I mean, I mentioned it earlier, but, you know, of course you've got a drone. Of course you're being a fucking cunt about it. You know, speak of the cunt. But I had to give it to, because it's so unexpected, it is Janet's cunt and fuck rant. It's so well done and just so, just letting off this aggression. Brilliant. But yeah, there's so many wonderful parts of it, mostly from Stuart.
Yeah, I wonder if Charlie Brooker, I suppose rightly thinking, well, the Scots use the word cunt a lot, so I'm going to put it in the mouths of my characters.
We certainly do.
Next then, archetypal Scottish moment.
I went with the scenery because it is beautiful, but also went with the countryside being a dangerous place.
Wow. I started with discomfort around black people and then changed to friendly, offensive greetings, which is quite Scottish, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, that's very much in terms of Stuart. How you doing, you fucking wank? That's perfect, beautiful. Yeah.
And then lastly, but by no means leastly, the Big Tam Award. Who wins Loch Henry for you?
Now I struggled with this purely because, look, Monica Dolan as Janet is immense.
Yeah.
Really, it's Daniel Portman as Stuart that kind of steals it for me.
He does.
And yeah, I have to give it to him, actually. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Stuart all the way for me. Played by Daniel Portman. I just think he's... I wasn't sure what to expect from him the first time I saw it. And I thought, you know, when we first see him, I thought, is he going to be like an antagonist in this? But the way that he's sort of part of this kind of modern day Scooby gang, I just really enjoyed it. You know, I'd like to see more adventures of Davis, Pia and Stuart investigating grisly murders.
Well, at one point, Stuart even sings the Scooby-Doo theme song.
He does indeed, yeah. He does indeed.
Yeah, so very right there.
So,
wonderful.
Okay, well, that was Loch Henry. If you want to watch it, it's on Netflix, which all over the world. A nice, easy one to get your hands on this week.
It's not often that we cover something that's so readily and worldwide available, but there we go.
There you go.
Happy to bring that to you for the Swally Spooktacular. So, Loch Henry was indeed my choice, Greg, which means it is now your choice to take us into November. So, what are we going to be talking about on the next episode of the Culture Swally?
So, in the next episode, and I know it's not your comfort zone, but I'm taking us back to I'm taking us back to the 1790s.
Oh.
And in a modern, right up to date 2025 movie, Tornado, which stars Tim Roth, Jack Lowden, Rory McCann, who else is in it? Ron Donaghy, I believe, is in there as well, if I remember right. And the Japanese actress Koki. So when a young Japanese woman who's part of a travelling show in Scotland stumbles upon some stolen loot, she has to flee from a gang of brigands who are dead set on reacquiring said loot. It only came out in the cinema in the summer, in June. So if you want to watch it before you hear Nikki and I chatting about it, you probably get it on Amazon Movies, Apple Movies. It might even be on a streamer by now. If you have a look, and tune in on the next episode to hear me and Nikki decide how we feel about it.
I'm looking it up. That's why I'm quiet. I'm just trying to, because it's not in my comfort zone, but I will happily watch this. I'm a big fan of Japanese culture. I see that Neil Gay's gay dad from The In-Betweeners is in it.
He does, yeah.
And of course, I'm a big fan of Tim Roth and a huge fan of Jack Lowden as well. And Douglas Russell too. So I'm looking forward to that. So Tornado from 2025 on the next episode of the Culture Swally. Wonderful. Looking forward to it, Greg. I say through gritted teeth because I know the time period it's in. I was out with a mutual friend of ours on Friday night, and he had to laugh because he said to me, have you watched House of Guinness? And I said, no, I won't watch that. Why not? It's good. I was like, it's set before 1950. I don't watch anything set before 1950. And he's like, what? I had to explain to him. I was like, look, Peaky Blinders, I've tried with it 3 times. I get to like 3 episodes and I'm like, I can't be done with this. I was like, I cannot watch anything set before the 50s. It's just this aversion I have. I can manage it for the podcast. I enjoyed, like Tommy's Honour, I really enjoyed, but that's because I'm watching Peter Mullen and Jack Lowden. Scottish stuff I'm okay with. Other stuff, not so much. But I will look forward to Tornado on the next episode of the Swally. Well, thank you very much for listening, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the show. You can get in touch with us. Well, first of all, actually, why don't you go and give us a little rating, review, subscription, wherever you downloaded this from. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it. Just give us a review. It'd be lovely. Thank you very much. If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can email us, cultureswally@gmail.com, with anything you've seen you'd like us to review, any news stories you'd like us to cover, or if you just want to say hello, just drop us a line. You can follow us on the socials. We're on Insta @cultureswallypod, and we have a wonderful website as well, don't we, Greg?
We do. You can find us at cultureswally.com, where there's features all about Scottish media, a nice little article about Scottish horror and its impact on perhaps some of the international horror franchises you'll be familiar with at this spooky time, and a little bit about the poem Tam O'Shanter by the bard himself, the Scottish bard, that is, Rabbie Burns. And you can also get in touch with us through our socials on the website as well. It's all the one-stop shop.
Fantastic. Wonderful, Greg. So, are you off to go and watch some Bergerac this evening?
Well, no, it's 8:30. I don't know how you get on when you're at home or if you're just travelling generally, but I really fucking don't sleep very well. And I didn't sleep very well last week in the video, because there was also this kind of the sort of 3-hour time difference, which for whatever reason does impact slightly no matter how late you go to bed.
Yeah.
So I've been kind of catching up a bit over the weekend. So no, I'll be retiring to bed. I'm only like 2 books away, I think, from completing my Irvine Welsh collection. I picked up the Marabou Stork Nightmares because there was a 2 books for £9 sale in HMV in Argyle Street in Glasgow. So I picked that one up. So I think all I've got left to buy, 3 left to buy. I've got to buy Reheated Cabbage, Bedroom Secrets of 4 books. I've got to buy the Siamese Twins one, the Chef's one, and if you like school, you'll love work. And then I think I'll be a completed collection of Irvine Welsh books.
Lovely, wonderful.
So I'm going to bed to reread the Marabou Stork Nightmares, is what I fucking should just have said in the first place. Sent that big long story about my Irvine Welsh collection.
Very good. It's been a long time since I've read Marabou Stork Nightmares, actually. So I might have to revisit that too. Yeah, it's been a very long time. Wonderful. Okay, well, you enjoy that, my man, and I'll speak to you next time.
Until next time.
Well, that'd be a tourist draw in itself, actually.
Good luck advertising that.
Come spend the night in the dungeon.
In the dungeon, you'll suffer sex atrocities in the dungeon.
He'll have you weeping on your knees.
In the dungeon.
He'll tie your hands behind your back.
In the dungeon.
And shove a bottle up your crack in the dungeon.
He'll break your elbows with a rock.